distance, we have a possible 211 in progress at the Bank of America, Laurel Canyon, north of Kittredge.
My partner and I, Detective John Krulak, we were there the most a minute.
W73, we're code 6.
I came down Laurel Canyon and I pulled my car across the 2 lanes.
I took a position here, and at that point, my partner and I were joined by Officer Zaborovin and Officer Guy.
Once I got to the location, I met a sergeant there that was Dean Haynes. I exited my patrol vehicle.
We pulled into this intersection. The bank sits right in front of us.
So I'm thinking, we got these guys. These guys are ours. They're inside the bank. They're going to be surrounded in a matter of seconds by LAPD officers. We got the tiger by the tail.
A person by some parked cars here ran up to my car and told me that he had seen the suspects enter the bank. They were dressed in black military-type fatigues, and that they definitely had AK-47 rifles. I
saw 2 gentlemen talking with an officer whose car was parked in the middle of the intersection. I introduced myself. I said I called 911.
The suspects came walking out of the alcove there near the Bank of America sign. Then he braced himself and pointed his weapon in the direction of my car. The car just began disintegrating in front of us.
I was shot twice.
I was shot in the foot.
I'd been hit in the shoulder.
The guy I was with was shot in the arm.
I was shot twice.
I've been hit in the neck.
And that's when Stewart got hit.
I need an RE unit, please help.
Took off running for our lives. And just as I made it to the tree, I was shot again. I looked down and I saw my leg was literally twisted around, facing the direction that I'm not standing.
LA9, you can help.
9089, 9037 is almost there. Hang in there.
The suspect was standing just to the right of the A, as he and I were actively engaged for what seemed like a very long time.
He drew fire to himself, basically. He stood his ground. It kept the gunfire from coming my way.
I grabbed Officer Stewart and dragged him to the rear of the car, to the rear seat.
And then Officer Schmitz, how he did it, drove out of this parking lot in reverse, probably easy, I'd say maybe 40 miles an hour.
A traffic officer approaches the truck and he says to us, hey, we've got guys down. Will this thing stop AK firepower? And I'm like, oh, sure, yeah, it'll stop anything. No problem.
The door opened, he said, hey, let's go get the officers, and we all just jumped in the truck and started going northbound.
And I saw the SWAT units pull up, so he ran over to our location.
And we let him take control of the situation since he has a lot more training than we do.
Everybody's efforts were there to start with. They just needed someone who could really direct all those individual efforts together and go forward as one.
And all of a sudden, the ground started spitting up dirt again, right in front of me. I remember thinking, why is this guy shooting at me again?
I kept trying to raise him over the air and he wasn't talking, and I thought he had passed out, or that he possibly died.
9089, 9089, come in. 9089, 9089, come in.
At that point, I didn't think that I would make it out alive.
After past the bank, we see where Officer Whitfield is behind a tree.
This is where we made the U-turn. And Officer Whitfield was down behind the second tree here. I was the first one out. Whitfield was down here. He was laying in a pool of blood. The suspects were somewhere down the street over there.
Since I had my SWAT weapons with me, I would do the covering in case the suspects did come forward towards us.
We picked them up and we just ran to the truck. And we continued on southbound to rescue the other civilians.
Through all the gunfire, an armored car pulled up right there in front of us. The gentleman that was holding me pushed me in first. And then he got in, and then the other gentleman that was shot, they helped stand him up, and he walked into the armored car.
The suspect is in the vehicle and has not come out. He may be hit. The other suspect is walking on the east side of the vehicle. He's taking it now. Everybody down.
I get this feeling that somebody's there, and I turn, and I look, I come up and I engage him. I engage him non-stop. I continue to engage him. He goes down. Looks like he stoops over. He's being hit. He continues, goes down. He gets back up, and I continue to engage him until he drops. And I was glad this was over for me. And as I'm doing that, I look up, I look down, and there goes Monterano, and all I can say is, you know, good luck to the officers who can engage him.
Once I got close enough to where I realized that this was a suspect, I leaned out the passenger front window and laid down cover fire.
And the cover fire drove the suspect to the back of the white vehicle, giving us the opportunity to exit the vehicle.
I could see the suspect firing in my direction through his windshield. I returned fire through his windshield. I could see his upper body.
Number one thought in my head then was to get out of that car because he was shooting back at us. So I laid on my back and used my feet and my shoulders and my elbows and tried to get myself across that seat. I kept hearing his automatic fire. It was constant, and I remember thinking to myself, eventually he's got to run out of bullets here and we can do something.
At this point, the suspect is down.
And as I moved up on him, right here, I'm yelling at him and pointing at him to get his hands up to where I can see him.
I'm kicking the assault rifle away from his hands at this point, and I just pointed back to the vehicle to have Ricky. The door was closed. I couldn't see what was inside. I was having Ricky check the interior of the vehicle for additional suspects.
The moment that stands out in my mind the most is the number of officers that were injured, officers down, the number of citizens that were injured, the number of rounds the suspects had fired, and the type of firepower they were using. It's totally different than your normal bank robbery suspects.
When I stand beside fellow officers, it's with respect, pride, and admiration, and it will be that way until the day I retire, and even after that. You know, this police department is number one because of its police officers, and we showed that day.